Another day, another flip through, and today I'm gonna show you the pages that I've created in my reading journal in the month of November. I'm a little bit sorry for my voice, but I'm currently dealing with flu and, well, my voice it is what it is. But now let's jump straight into the video. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome, I'm Stefania.
As always, I'm gonna start from the yearly pages and then I'm gonna move to the monthly pages. I've updated this one with the books that I've read in November, and I know we'll color more books with December, but I will not fill in all the books. But if you've been following me for a little bit, you know that I rather have more books here than my actual goal, so it's perfectly fine. I would rather end up the year with some books that are still white and empty, rather than finding myself before the end of the year without any more space, everything is colored in and I still have books to add. So it's perfectly fine. I've then updated also my book log with the books that I've read in November. November was another month in which I've read a little bit each single day, and I'm super happy about that. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. My goal is to read a little bit each single day. It doesn't matter how many pages or how much time I'm gonna spend with books. The important is that I'm gonna read a little bit each single day. So I'm really happy because also in November I've done it. These are the books that I've read in November. I'm just gonna say this because this is a non-fiction that will week here and there's not gonna be a spread in my monthly pages. So it's the only one that's gonna, let's say, missing from the month, because I've decided that for non-fiction, if they are books like this one, I don't do a spread for them. I do, however, sometimes do spreads for books that are non-fiction, like I've done it for I'm Glad That My Mom Died, but I don't do it for, let's say, self-help books for sure. So this is the only one that's gonna miss there. Big one, my favorite one for November was Risking It All. And it was 5 stars. It wasn't the only one. There was also One Dark Window, and I think this is called Educated in English, the book by Tara Westover. There is an empty space because I still have to print a book cover from previous months, so yes, I actually think it was from October, yes. So as you can see, this month was a tough one because there were 3 books that were 5 stars and to pick one wasn't easy. I've added here all the books that I've read. Xiamo con le streghe. The book was One Dark Window, while the book by Cerbero Book Club, it's a book that I've decided not to read, so it's not here. So this is updated. Series tracker, I've added the series that I started between October and November because in my flip through of October I've noticed that I haven't updated it. Bingo, it's all filled in. Oh, now that I'm seeing it, there's one thing I still have to add here. And it's this series that was supposed to be 3 books. Then when they published the first one, they said no, it's gonna be a standalone. Then, let's say there were reasons behind that were about money mainly. Then they were like, okay, no, it's gonna be more than a book. Good, because that's why it wouldn't be a problem. And then, however, it was confirmed that it's gonna be only 2 books. So technically the third one is not gonna be there, so it's a completed series. Storygraph challenge with November averaged 58 books. This is why, since my goal was 50 this year, I've decided for 2025 to move it to 60 because I think I can do it. Let's hope so. Alphabet challenge, I've updated it, yes, but as you can see there are still a lot of letters which are empty, and this is gonna be quite of the same in December. And this one I'm really happy because I've finished this one, which is all about genre challenge. While the buzzword challenge, I've said it before, I haven't paid too much attention to it this year again, and I will just update it with December so that I will not go crazy over everything because I forgot about it. So I'm gonna join it again in 2025. Of course I will. Genre tracker has been updated. TBR, I've started November with 0 books in my TBR. I've added 5 books. I've read 5 books. So again, I've finished the month with 0 books. Amazing. Reading stats. In November, I've read 7 books, 2 were books, 5 were physical books, 2,402 pages. I've read for 30 days, 2 books in English and 5 in Italian. And as you can see from the rating, it was a wonderful month because there was only 1 book that was 3 stars and half, 1 that was 4 stars, and all the other 5 were 4 stars and half and 5 stars. So definitely amazing. I'm not gonna talk about the stats because I've just said them in my highlight pages. The Plan With Me video, it's online if you want to go and check it out. Monthly view, as you can see, there are a lot of books, and this is quite of the reason why I try not to add anything here at the bottom of the page anymore, is because there have been months in which I was just reading 5 books, and so I had enough space to even have something here at the bottom. And then there have been months in which I've read more than 7 books and I had no space for books. Reading tracker, I think I've said it all. I don't think I have to say anything more about it. If not, then maybe the day that I've read the most was on the 2nd of October. And this is because on the 1st I started a book and I finished it on the 2nd. It was also my favorite book of the month. And I just couldn't put it down. Now I'm gonna move straight forward toward the pages that I've created for the books. As always, I'm not gonna try to talk too much about the books themselves because I don't want to give spoilers. So I will try to say what I've liked or not about the books without saying too much, which is hard, by the way, it's really hard. But as always, this is a flip through, it's not a review one. Risking It All by Kelly McGarry was definitely a surprise, but not a surprise for me. I'll try to explain this. I'm a big fan of her books. I love them. Her series, Pushing the Limits, is the one that got me back into reading a lot. Mainly that and another one were the 2 series that made me fall in love with reading again. And this series will always have a special place in my heart. So when she said, I'm doing a book which is Pushing the Limits, The Next Generation, I was a little bit taken aback. I was like, okay, are we gonna like it or not? At the same time, I was like, when I decided to read Pushing the Limits, I was definitely younger. I for sure was more, let's say, in the target. And I was like, okay, this is another young adult. I don't know. Will I still like it as much as I did back? Or maybe by reading this book, let's say, I will be reviewing entirely the previous series and I will not love it just as much. Instead, absolutely no. After a little bit of fear, I've started this book and I can tell you that if it wouldn't be that I had to go to sleep, I would have read it all in a day because it was really calling me. I just couldn't put it down. It was amazing. How does basically this series work? That the main character here is the daughter of a couple from the previous series. Now, I will not say names because I don't want to give spoiler also for the series, because if you haven't read Pushing the Limits, you should definitely give it a try. I remember I loved the series so much, and after reading this one, I was like, I want to reread it. At the same time, I'm scared because, again, I might see things in a different way from when I read that series years and years ago. But it's really weird because I'm not a person that read books. I just don't do that because my brain is always like, there are so many books in so little time. I don't want to spend time reading something that in my brain is still there. Like, I remember how it went, what happened and all. But here, I was just feeling like that. I really loved it, and I for sure love the way Kelly McGarry writes. I loved the story, the plot, and everything. And finding again some characters that I definitely fell in love with years and years ago, that was definitely amazing. So if you've read Pushing the Limits, you should definitely start this one. If you haven't, then before thinking of jumping on this book, be sure to read all that series, because elsewhere you're gonna get spoilers. One Dark Window, I think this book was a book that I wasn't so sure about. I'll try to explain. It went a little bit viral on TikTok, I would say, even before it came out in Italy. When the book arrived in Italy, they decided to do it in an edition with spray edges and all, and everybody was going crazy over it. I wasn't a fan of the physical book, okay, of the Italian edition, because the spray edges weren't amazing according to me. Like, they had a meaning connected with the book, so that's perfect, good, but I wasn't really in love with them. Like, the graphic wasn't the best for me, so I haven't bought it. And then I repeat myself, I wasn't even sure I wanted to read it, because I was like, but will I like it? Yes, no. Then it was chosen for the month of November for the reading group Leggiamo con le streghe, and I was like, okay, let's give it a try. I've read it in a book, and now I'm seriously considering of buying the physical copy, but there's a big but. I'm waiting to see when the second one is gonna come out in Italy, because I have to decide if I'm gonna actually buy it or not. Let's say that right now I'm thinking more about buying the physical copy in English. Anyway, moving on from that, let's talk about a little bit this book. I was really surprised because I've ended up loving it, 5 stars. There were things that left me with a lot of questions, and I hope that they will be answered in the second book, because if they will be not answered, then I'm gonna be really disappointed, and my brain will be like, okay, then at this point it isn't a 5 stars anymore. There are too many things that, according to me, make you think a lot. It's an interesting story, and I loved the fact that it's also a little bit different. Usually you have people that have magic and people that don't. Here you have people that bend magic, and if you're gonna get it, they're gonna kill you. And then you have people that actually use the cards as a magic system, which is like really interesting, because your mind, as soon as you start, is like, why would you kill people who have magic, and instead you are fine with people using cards to use magic? Like, and then you realize that actually the cards probably are, let's say, it's easier to control them. But I really want to see the second one. The main character, she's not the smartest one, because after she found out something, I was like, just ask that question. Just ask about that thing that you're all looking for. And instead, no, that never came to her mind. Not even a single moment. I definitely can't wait to look forward to the second book. Then it was time for La Terza Gemma, which is the second book in Le Cinque Rive, which is the series that I've started last year, and I loved the first book. So I was waiting for this one. I was just so excited, and well, I was disappointed by it. 3 stars and a half. I was expecting so much more from this book. Really, so much more. The first one, according to me, was 1,000 times better. Here, too many questions weren't really fully answered. Some others were left there like, if you get it, you get it. The ending was just rushed. Okay, I understood one thing from reading the first and the second book by this author, is that she's not definitely a pro when it comes to writing battles, but the problem is that here the whole ending was like, I'm missing something. Okay, this is the point. I was reading the book and all of a sudden we jumped at the end. Too much is missing here, and I'm so sad about it, because I was really expecting it to be just as good as the first one. Well, instead, no, I was definitely disappointed by it. Oh, this book. Let me tell you one thing. I loved it, yes, 4 stars and half. Now, what I didn't like mainly is, if you want to call it the spiciness, I wasn't really a fan of it. I don't know if it depends on the fact that I've read this book in Italian, and I think I said this before, I'm pretty sure. When it comes, for example, to romances, I don't read them in Italian basically anymore because it's just, it's a cringe thing, okay? It's just impossible for me to read spiciness in the translated version, let's say it. So I always go in English. Now, this book, however, I've decided to read in Italian because I've heard so many people be like, the world building isn't easy. It's not easy. And in fact, for the whole first part of this book, I was constantly confused. Thank God there's, at the end of the book, there is a few pages that can be extremely important and useful for you, absolutely yes. So if you start this one and at the beginning you find it hard to understand something, like you're feeling like you're lost here and there, it's totally fine, it's normal, just keep on reading it. Another thing, however, that I was really disappointed was with my own brain, and I'll tell you why. Because as always, I've done this mistake. Before I've started this crazy thing of starting series which are not finished, I was only reading finished series, because I didn't want to wait between a book and the other, for different reasons. According to how a book ends, I might want to read the second or the following book without waiting at all. Another reason is that I don't want to forget the book, so, I mean, we will see how long it's taking, for example, for Akatar. Will we ever read the next book? I've lost hope. And honestly, I've even lost interest into it. So I was a smart girl back in the time. Then I started doing this stupid thing, which is read series which are not finished. And I found myself in a situation like, okay, and now I have to wait. And here's the thing about this one. I thought that the second book was already out, at least in English, because it always takes so much before books arrive in Italy. I was like, oh, for sure there's already the second one out. Let's hope it's not gonna take them forever to translate in Italian. And once I was finished, I checked it out, and well, apparently the second one is still not even out in English. We're talking about probably, according to some sites, October 2025. I think you could understand my shock right now, because when I found it out, I was really shocked, okay? I was like, you're telling me I've read this incredibly long book, which I loved, I'm not saying no, but I also took a lot of my brain to fully understand, especially the world building, I'm talking about that. And now you're telling me that for the next one, I have to wait basically more than a year? Because if it's October for the English version, I imagine that until 2026, there's not gonna be the Italian edition. Well, now I'm scared that I'm gonna forget so many things. At the same time, as I said before, I don't reread books. I will not reread this one, I already know it, also because it's incredibly long, okay? And it took me a lot of days. So, if you still haven't read this one, what I'm telling you is maybe wait until the second one isn't out. Just wait so you can start it, and if you finished it and you've enjoyed it, you can jump straight into the second one. If you don't want, however, you know that whenever you will want to jump on the second one, it's gonna be there for you. I don't know what I can say about this book anymore without giving spoilers, because some things for me were crystal clear, some others no. Then it was time to read the Terza story. Now, for me it was a 5 stars. I was really into this book. I know that a lot of people, by reading it, then in the review were like, this is impossible, you can tell me that a girl that never went to school, then managed to do all that she does. And I'm like, you know, she's telling you her story, she's telling you this is what I went through, so I'll just take it in that way. Then is it possible or not, I don't care, in the meaning that this is how she felt it. then maybe there were actually more classes in her house when she was little. Who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no. Her brain could have just removed certain things, because in a lot of parts she's like, this is how I remember it. In other things, she's like, this is how I remember this thing happening, but my father version was different. My mother one was even different from both of ours, and my siblings said it was something completely different, yet they were talking about the same thing. So how did that thing happen? And in a sudden it was like, okay, she's telling you crystal clear that this is how she remembers it. I think it's incredibly important to see how she had to battle with her own self before anybody else. And all of a sudden she has to start reviewing everything that she learned in her life from another point of view. She had to understand that maybe her parents' versions weren't right, that maybe what her parents were always telling her, well, those things weren't exactly what they were, it was what they were thinking about it. So it's about learning how things actually are, learn to have your own opinions, and then learn to stand your ground. It's not an easy thing to do. I definitely loved this book. I just couldn't put it down. I was really into it and I absolutely loved it. So if you want to give it a try, I think you should definitely spend your time on this book because it's worth it, according to me. 4 stars. I loved it, yes. But at the same time, it made me think so much, which is not bad. We're talking about Melody, a little girl which, as she says, it's not normal. She's like, I was born with this problem and it was hard for my parents, but it was also hard for me. You might think, okay, so we're reading the story of parents having to raise the daughter which has problems, health problems, which aren't small. Instead, no, we're reading the whole book from her point of view. So she's literally saying since the beginning, I know everything, I always know the answers, but in 11 years, I never said a word. So we see her going through learning to communicate with others thanks to, let's say, a laptop, a sort of a laptop. And you see her trying to fit in school. And Melody really, really wants to fit in. She's constantly thinking, oh, I don't wear the right clothes. I should have told my mom to put jeans, but I know that jeans is a bad thing for me. I know that when it comes to go to the bathroom can be so much painful for whoever is helping me. And then she's like, I don't want to go to the bathroom when I'm in the normal class because it would mean that I have to ask for help to the person that's there for me, and I don't want them to think that. She doesn't even want to eat in front of them because she's like, I don't want them to judge me like I'm not normal. She just does the best that she can to fit in. And she's starting this quiz thing with her classmates. They win thanks to her just as much as the others because she gives the right answers. And then it's time for them to all just go to, let's say, I think it was national, I don't remember exactly, but let's say in this bigger final thing. And this is when I started thinking, I don't want to give spoiler, but I can tell one thing, that by the end she get left out. And what makes you think the most is not the fact that the kids left her out, because of course that happened, but at the same time you're like, okay, they are 10, 11, 12 years old. The thing that really made me feel like thinking a lot about how things actually are in the real world is that the parents of all of these kids didn't say a word. They were the first ones that were fine with letting her out. And this makes you think a lot, because if the parents would have been like, no, you have to involve, if the parents would have shown to the kids how to do things, the kids wouldn't have done certain things. I loved it, absolutely, yes, 4 stars. So these are the books that I've read in November. I can say that I definitely had a lovely month because, 3 5 stars, that was something completely unexpected, at least for me it was. And I really love them. Let me know with a comment if you've read them, yes, no, if you're planning on reading them. As always, thank you so much for your support, for watching this video till the end. If you enjoyed it, remember to give it a thumb up and to subscribe for more videos like this one. Thank you so much for your support. See you next time. Bye!